Perfect. All righty. Yeah. Thanks, Casey. Hey, everybody. Good morning. Hope everybody's having a great day. So, with us here today, we have Dr. Adam Larson. I'm very excited that I was just saying, actually, before everybody joined on here, I'm glad that we were able to get Dr. Larson to come and speak with us. Very excited to say that Dr. Larson is a speaker who is recommended by you all, right? Somebody in the Copper chapter heard Dr. Larson speak, said, hey, chapter board, you guys should definitely reach out. We did. And Dr. Larson agreed to come and speak with our chapter. So we're really grateful. We're really thankful to have him here today. I'm going to go ahead and read a quick bio, and then I will turn it over to you, sir. So, Dr. Adam Larson is an expert in the field of leadership innovation and earned his doctorate in educational leadership from Northern Arizona University in 2023. He draws on 22 years of leadership experience as he trains leaders from across the country from both the private and the public sectors. Adam has published articles in Education Weekly and the Journal of Education Research, where his research discusses the role of school and district leaders in combating compliance fatigue and encouraging innovation. He is currently the Executive Director of Operations for the Peoria Unified School District and works closely with a number of Arizona school districts to train their leaders as they tackle the unique challenges of the public sector. Everybody, Dr. Adam Larson.
Hey, thank you very much for that introduction. I appreciate it. And it's great to be with all of you guys. I feel like I'm with my people. Like I've worked with people in the private sector, like you mentioned, and I've talked with school districts from across the country. And I'm really excited to come back to Arizona, be able to talk with you about, I'm going to say, let's sit down, relax. I didn't put on a tie today intentionally so that we could just have a discussion about what it takes to work in our world and things that people in the real world, I'll say, outside of the public sector, they just don't understand. You start talking about procurement, you start talking about having to do any kind of work in a school district, and it just, if they're like my friends, they say things like, "Oh, I could never do that." Right? Whether it's working with kids because they're terrified of them, or whether it's making sure that all of the things, that the check marks, right, that have to be checked as we do our work are done. It's tedious, it's difficult. I don't think people really comprehend the kind of work that goes into what it is you all do. So first of all, thank you for everything that you do to make sure this stuff is done right. We know what it looks like when it's not, and it can be really devastating for a community when we don't do our jobs. And so, as was mentioned, and I appreciate the introduction, I spend a lot of my time making sure that other people are spending money correctly, that we're utilizing our resources correctly. Now I'll talk a little bit about that today. I'm going to jump in here and share my screen with you and get this PowerPoint started. All right. And I hope that everybody can see that and we're all set.
Yep, looks great.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, as I mentioned, I think it's important to recognize that each of us has a important role to play in making sure that our districts run well. My job as the director of facilities and operations is to, make sure that I take weight off of those, and I'll talk about this in a little bit more detail, but take the weight off of people who are trying to do jobs and essentially serve them in my current role. And so what does that look like? I want to start off by just talking a little bit about, myself, my favorite topic. No, I'm just joking. I'm going to kind of start our conversation today with my introduction, but it has a purpose. I'm not just sharing this with you so that so that I can build some kind of gravitas. I want to share with you, I've had some success in my life, but that all has built to an understanding of what real leadership is. I'm constantly trying to learn about it and make sure I understand how to better serve the people I work with, but also share it with others. And that comes from a history here that you can see on the screen. So when I was in high school, I had a lot of success. Um, as an athlete, I was coached by a lot of great people and had a lot of people similar to all of you that were servant leaders. I had a great football coach, great wrestling coach, and they helped me learn how to manage others by watching them do their work. When I went to college, I played college football, and but after just a couple of years, I realized college football wasn't where I was going to spend my time. I enjoyed it. It was great. Actually, it was really, really hard, but uh, I had an experience being there, or I had an opportunity to be able to move into the student leadership areas. And that was a great opportunity. I ended up getting to meet the Vice President of the United States, who at the time was Al Gore, and go through some experiences there. I'll talk about those later. But each of these different things that you'll see, for example, being an athletic director and having success, finishing my doctorate, um, some of the stuff that's my wife always wonders why I put it in here. Being a husband of 26 years and I'm still married, that's a success, right? Anybody that's been in that position knows that it's hard work. It takes a little bit to be able to bring two people together. I'm a dad of seven. Yes, seven on purpose and all with the same lady. That is a success for me. My kids range all the way from some being extremely successful in sports, some are really successful in academics. I have some. My one daughter is deaf and has overcome a lot to be successful. She's married now and actually plays in a band and sings, and there's all kinds of other things that go on to her success. I have my one son has Down syndrome and is a blessing in our home. But again, wide range of experiences for me, that have taught me a lot. You'll notice the next bullet here is failure. I have failed in every aspect of my life to a certain extent. And that will come. Why would I say something like that in a presentation to a whole bunch of professionals that I'm trying to earn their respect? Right. That'll hopefully become apparent here in just a minute. The thing that I point out here last is that just like being a coach, they gave me that title. I walked out and started coaching people. Being a teacher, they gave me that title when I got my certificate and I started teaching. The minute that you say that you're a leader, people start looking at you weird. They'll say, really? Wow, you really feel high on yourself. But really, that's the title that I like the most. I have tried to become a leader, and we're going to talk about how to become a leader today. Not just not from that perspective of being, I'm not humble or being prideful, but what does it mean? And what's the difference between leadership and being a manager? So throughout this next couple of minutes while we're sitting here chatting, I'll ask you if you want to interact, please do. I've been told I can be interrupted. Please do interrupt me if somebody has a question that makes sense, and we'll talk about it. Throughout the course of this, we're going to talk about a change in perspective, a little bit about humility, leadership, some of the challenges we're going to face, and then what it means to be successful as we're doing that. It's really important that we're off on the right foot here. I'm going to be really direct and I'm not going to really mince words. I try to be, it's not necessarily good politics. And I don't mean politics like national politics. I mean, like typically when you work with people, you tell them all the good stuff about themselves because you want them to be feeling good about you. My role, as we're talking about perspective, is to try to help you get a perspective, a way to look at the world. All right? I want you to question what it is or how it is that you look at the world and what it is that makes you a success. Your leadership style, or maybe you're not in a leadership position, but your leadership movements, what it is you do in your area, really matters to the people that you're with. And I want to question how you do what you do. I want you to question how you do what you do. So again, I'm not going to intentionally try to offend, but I will be very direct about what it is that I think about what we do. And I loop myself into that. If you come away saying I've never really thought about that, or I'm looking at that a little bit different now, then I'll feel like we did our job today. So let's start off with perspective. I recently found this author, I recently, 5 years ago, Ludwig von Mises wrote a book in 1946. And anybody that, you can understand, and I can understand, if somebody would say, well, 1946, that's a long time ago. If you were to read it, it would sound like it was written in today, for today. He argues that the private and public sectors can't be run the same way. And there's a good reason for that. It's important that um, an economist like this came out at the time to share with everybody that the public sector and government has to run a certain way, but that also comes with some of the challenges, right? We're not spending our own money. We're not responsible for our own assets. And so he said, at its best, the public sector will be inefficient, but it's necessary. And so as we talk about this today and talk about what your role is, I think it's really important to just let's acknowledge the fact that we're bureaucrats at what we do. Now, the negative connotations that come along with that is not my intention. It's just let's recognize the fact that there's complex structures, there's multiple layers, there's procedures, all of these things. If you're on the outside looking in, it tends to really feel like we're getting wrapped up in all of the red tape and being held back. And again, if you're a parent coming into a school district, or if you're a teacher and you're working with the district office, or if you're whatever the role may be, it's different. For those of you again that have ever worked with an outside vendor, you can sense the frustration sometimes that they may have about our world and why uh, why they may not want to work with us. And so let's just be real about how difficult sometimes we can make our own jobs. Now, that doesn't mean that all of the processes that we put in place are not important. I don't want to come off as being critical of what it is that we do. I just think it's important to recognize that sometimes the way we're viewed cannot be all or is not always positive. So what brings that about? I think to kind of start us off and being a good leader and being able to react to our situation and then change and get better, we have to start with the idea of our reality. Where does it start? Why do we have situations where people feel like they need to build bureaucracy or build this gate system? I call it the moral imperative. I recognize that term is not unique. Um, it means that we feel an inner desire to make sure that things are okay, to make sure the right and the wrong is followed. So most public servants have this moral imperative. They feel like their job is protecting the better outcomes. That if I do my job correctly, then the things that we are supposed to be getting done for the public can then be done. Somebody has to do it, right? And when we start to look at it as I am the gatekeeper of right and wrong, I am the person that has to make this work. Now, I don't want to overstate it, but I've been in meetings where somebody gets passionate, excited, and I'm sure none of you have ever been in those meetings before. But that guard of doing things the right way can sometimes turn into, and I say guard, I mean a person, can sometimes turn into somebody that starts to be difficult to work with. And again, they are protecting the right and the wrong. When we lose the perspective, we start defending the process instead of serving the people. Now, when we start to defend the process, that's when we can get to be a little rigid and a little prickly. So the real problem comes when we start to see the people that we're supposed to be serving or the people that are outside of our influence as our enemies. Now, again, I'm sure that that's never happened to anybody else, but I have had people walk into my office and question what it is I was doing with the intention to try to help me. And how dare you come in and tell me what to do? You don't understand my system. You don't understand the challenges. But part of being a good leader, like we're going to talk about here in a minute, is being able to see things from the perspective of others and how do they see what it is you're doing? How do others see the challenges, or why do they not see the challenges that you're going through? How do we combat that? Because if they can understand where it is you're coming from and what it is that you're doing, then you'll be able to serve them better. They'll be more patient. You'll be able to do your job better. You'll be more motivated, and you won't feel like you're up against it every single time you open your door. Right? When somebody calls out and says, I need something, and you get defensive, that's a pretty good indicator that we need to start changing our perspective. Now, I've actually had this happen. I'm going to share this story, and I have no names, right? Because I still, some cases, I work with the people I'm going to be talking about. So, not in my direct office, and not in my school district, right? It would never be in my school district. But I was in a leadership meeting a little while ago, and we have 42 different campuses we're managing, and we have 42 individuals that care for those campuses. We try to bring them all together and have our meetings. Every time that we can, we do it in person. This time, as we were discussing in our big team meeting, with all of my supervisors, meaning my people that were going to go deliver the information, it just became apparent that we weren't going to be able to have the meeting in person like we typically have. It was just too hard. We were trying to do it. Everything was getting used in our district. We couldn't find a place to do it. I made the suggestion that we go ahead and open up a virtual meeting, keep it simple. Everyone stay at their campus. It'll be great. I was shocked when my secretary, who I had had a good relationship with, I had only been in the job now, just to give you context. I'd only been in the job probably about 2 months. And so we're still building, my secretary and I are still building this how do we do what we do thing, right? We were kind of figuring out who was responsible for what. She was definitely a gatekeeper. She definitely had a moral imperative because she yelled at me in the meeting, you can't do that. I was shocked. I sat back and I went, well, it's actually really not that hard. That was okay. First of all, I've been married, like I said, 26 years. I've learned not to say the first thing that comes to my mind sometimes. But in this case, I just said, well, sure, we can. It's not that hard. She came up with, started to get emotional. And when I say get emotional, like the tears started to come of they can't do that. Technology is going to be a challenge. Some of them can't necessarily read well. They're going to have all of these issues. We have to find computers, and we're coming up with solutions during this. And this happens in the course of maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Of no, it'll be okay. We can go to their sites. We'll be able to. And this isn't me sharing this. This is my other members of my team. No, it's going to be all right. We'll be able to do this. We can change that. We can bring people together if they don't know. We can get interpreters if they don't speak English well. All of these solutions started to come up. She stood up, yelled at all of us, and that we didn't care about the people, and walked out of the office. Now, I don't share that to embarrass her, but I share that to say that from her perspective, the people that she was trying to protect were not capable and needed her protection. When I talk about this moral imperative, she felt like if she didn't do her job of protecting these people from me and my changes, then she couldn't sleep at night. And that sometimes drives people to do things that are just not normal or in the real world, right? There's nothing wrong with having a meeting, and we carried it out and it was just fine. There was no problems. We went and did all of the different things that we said we would do, and she hated every single minute of it. Even after we had a successful meeting, she still wouldn't acknowledge that it was a success because they had to change and they had to push themselves, and she had to protect them. Now I recognize that a lot better. At the time, I also recognized that I was just shocked at her reaction. And so I've tried to learn a little bit more about how people react and why. So I recognized in this case, I was dealing with somebody who was kind of like this, right? I had a guard dog. Like there was somebody that was going to protect this system. In this case, this guard dog, if you want to get through, they're in charge of the gate. Like they're in charge. They know how things are going, and I'm sure you don't know anybody like this, but they are in charge. They're the ones that know what's going on. If you want to get something done, you'll have to ask me because I'm capable of navigating it. You're not necessarily, and they don't say that outright, but you have people in your organizations, I'm sure, that the only people that know what's going on is them in their lives, right, in their world. And so sometimes we run into people like this where you do not want to try to go deal with X business services, no, whatever, because when you go and you deal with those people, their whole thing is to protect the system. We have to protect our way, right, at all costs. People outside of our system are the enemies, and our system, even asking for help. If you were supposed to have access, you would have the training, right? That mentality is that we have to protect it from outside influences. Now, there's also the people that feel trapped. Now, you've never heard this before either. I can't help you. I only have so much power, right? The system we work in only gives us so much authority. I can't change this. It's outside of my scope. All right. I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do for you. That kind of mentality sometimes is on the opposite of protection. It's helplessness. Now, dealing with those people that are in those situations, each of them can be a challenge. But again, we want to talk today a little bit about how to address them. What we really want, I think, is to move from having guard dogs everywhere, right? Having people feel like they have to be guard dogs, to having people understand that they're gatekeepers. In our world, we need gatekeepers. We're spending other people's money. And if we don't do it well, if we don't manage our resources well, they come in, shut us down, some cases send you to jail, all the different bad things that happen, right? And so we have to make sure we guard and protect the resources that we've been made responsible for. But let's keep it simple. Let's make sure that people have open access. We're there to make sure that people can do their jobs. We want to make it as simple as possible. And throughout the course of this, we'll share just a little bit about how to deal with some of those challenges. I think the first thing that we have to do is take a step back and take on a little humility. It's been my experience that true humility is the toughest thing that a person needs to take on a real leadership role. When you adopt that perspective of being a humble person, you start to say things to yourself like, I have a role to play, but I'm not so important that this thing wouldn't function without me. I have a role to play, and I am really important in making sure this all works. But if I can train other people to also do that, then I'm being effective. I want to make sure that others also can do a good job. If I'm solid, I can withstand criticism. I may not like it, but I can withstand it. If the system I'm working in is solid, then it can withstand review. I don't have to feel threatened by other people or them coming in and asking why we do what we do if I actually know why we do what we do and it makes sense. So humility, I believe, leads to real power. The ability to walk into your office every single day and feel comfortable with what it is your job is. Not complacent, but comfortable. I can do my job. I can do it effectively. I'm important at my work. My people enjoy me being here. These things are important, and I'm good at it. Now, I bring back up some of the things I've shared before. All of these different aspects of my life have been great. But the one I appreciate the most is the opportunities I've had to fall on my face And that's kind of hard to get to that point where you say, you know what, I'm glad I've had experiences that have pushed me to where I can be resilient. I am sometimes failing at things, and that's okay. Because when you take that perspective on, you start to allow other people to do the same thing. Now, we don't want people to fail just because failure, right? Let's not say that. If we're pushing people and leading people correctly, they're going to struggle, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. I really do believe that humility allows leaders to stay tethered to reality. The reality of your situation is if you were to leave tomorrow, and again, this is not an insult to anybody, I don't think, to say if I were to leave tomorrow, they would find somebody else. That's okay. I'm going to do a really good job and make sure that I'm not just a good person while I'm at work, but I'm being productive for other people, that I'm helping them and I'm serving them correctly. Am I good at everything? No. Am I good at something? Yes. That's why I'm here. I get paid a lot of money every day to come in and, well, okay, let's say my first teaching contract was like 23,500, right? So just for the perspective, again, I make more money now. So I make a lot of money in my world to be able to say I'm good at something. I am valuable to this organization. They pay me every single day to come in and do work. I'm not going to protect the system. I'm going to try to make sure that the system is productive for the people I work with, that it can be effective. Will I make mistakes? Yes, I will. And that's okay, as long as I don't destroy anything, which we'll talk about in a minute too. So one of the other things you might think too, are others better at some things than I am? A humble person can say yes, and they have to. If you're a good leader, you're going to say other people are good at things too, and that's all right. When I was a football coach, I used to tell my kids, because I could always tell someone else would run the football in, and the team that had supported that person getting into the end zone would all run and clap them on the helmet and all that fun stuff. I always knew when I had an attitude problem from a different player, because that person, when we scored, would walk in their body language and everything was, I didn't get a play. I didn't get to be the one that scored. Well, I taught my kids that just because somebody else scores doesn't mean that you didn't win too. You have an opportunity. Just because I celebrate you doesn't mean, or celebrate somebody else, doesn't mean that I don't like you. And being able to, again, stay tethered to the reality that everybody's good at something. That's really what leadership is tapping into that. It leads us also to be able to take ownership of our our shortcomings. We are not going to necessarily do everything right, and I'll keep coming back to that. This is a book from Jocko Willink that I really has impacted me a lot over the last 2 years. The concept of if you take responsibility for the things that you're responsible for, then you stop making excuses. And if you see something went wrong, it's your fault. And that's okay. Fix it. Figure out a way to get past your pride and have the humility and take it on, take ownership, and then deal with the issues. Okay, so let's jump into the meat and potatoes here. If I was going to ask you guys to contribute, put some comments in, which I am, go ahead, put some comments in if you want to. What do you think the balance should be between leadership and management? All right, now I'm not going to wait. If you want to throw those in there into the comments, that'd be great. I'm going to just jump in and say, if you're saying that there's a balance, sometimes you're a leader, sometimes you're a manager, and it's about 50-50. You're telling people we got to check the boxes and you're telling people what to do. Okay. I'm going to just throw out there that is completely false. Okay. The idea that there is some kind of balance that needs to be maintained, I've heard people talk about it. I've seen the research on it. Leadership is a mindset. Management is a style. Now, what do I mean by that? When you walk in as a leader into your office, you say, today, I'm going to make all of the people that I work with better. I'm going to come into their offices and I'm going to challenge them. I'm going to support them. I'm going to give them things to do and then I'm going to follow up afterwards because I have a mindset of support. I have a mindset of growth. The people I work with are going to become better. When I walk into my office, this is me right now. When I walk into my office, I have one job, and that's to make sure that the people that I work with are successful in their jobs. As a leader, that's my role. I continually try to make sure that things that don't allow me to do that are out of my world. So we've restructured the way that Peoria functions so that I, as a leader, can work with my people. In the past, I had tasks to do that took up all of my day. So, for example, working with the state facilities board, there's a lot going on there, right? There's constant work that has to get done. I had to give that to somebody else because I needed to work with my people and help them grow. We've restructured Peoria's leadership teams and the way we operate so that everybody in a leadership position can work with their people, because that's what leadership is checking in on people, making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do, holding them accountable. How are you going to hold somebody else accountable when you're spending every single day checking receipts? Now, I don't mean to throw that out. I mean, checking receipts is important, but I'm saying if you're not doing leadership tasks, then you're not doing leadership. Management is completely different. And it's not that there's not some crossover sometimes in how we do checklists and things, but there's a perspective that comes from a manager's point of view. It's very limited, and it should be. Somebody who's a manager has a series of tasks that they've been asked to do, and they need to complete those, or else whatever it is that we're trying to get done isn't going to get done. Their job is to make sure people do things. But the manager that takes on a leadership mindset says, I'm not just here to check the boxes. I'm not just here to make sure things get done. I'm here to make sure my people grow. Now, we're going to do all of those other things too. So in my world, management is a specific step that you take. And for most people, it's the beginning steps of becoming a leader. You have to learn how to do the stuff first. How do you what boxes do we need to check off? Then you can help other people grow into being able to do those things. So a leader takes on a different perspective than a manager in one particular way. They make choices. They set perspective, or they set guides. So I love this graphic. It's probably one of my favorite ones. It's just, go Google it and it's out there for everybody to see. But I love this graphic because what it says is, you as a leader, when you set a guideline and you say, here's where we're going, it cuts out all of the other choices, all of the other options, right, left, not options anymore. We're going this direction. We're doing these things. We're not doing all these other things. We're doing these things. And allowing your people to do that, or to see that, brings peace of mind. When your people know that there's someone in charge giving direction, and that doesn't mean telling people what to do, but you've set a vision, you've set guides, you've made sure there's a direction we're going. You're telling others, I'm in charge and you're safe here. Now, I know that sounds kind of funny, but we used to think, like, as a teacher, when I do conferences for teachers, I'll tell them that when you walk in on the very first day, you have to set a safe space for your kids by saying, I'm in charge. I am the teacher that's going to make you successful. When somebody else steps out of line, I'm going to hold them accountable. In my classroom, I am in charge. When somebody swears at me, here's how I'm going to handle it. And I'm not going to lose my temper about it. I'm going to teach them. When somebody decides that, or when a parent comes in and wants to ask me something about my classroom, I'm in charge. Now, that doesn't mean I don't work with them, but I'm in charge. You're safe when you're here. Now, as a leader, when you're setting up these expectations and you're taking away some of these choices, giving people all the information that they need to be successful comes into that. And we'll talk about that in a second. The very first question that I asked when I took on my current role, because again, like you, I was working in a I was working in a school district, and some of you have different roles depending on where you're at. But I was working in the school district. I had moved up from being a teacher to an administrator. I then changed school districts, and I knew what happened, right? What had happened to me in the past. I felt in some cases really helpless. Like I was an athletic director, and I only had so much power to be able to make change or to be able to do things. I had to get permission from multiple people. And so I'm sitting with the superintendent and I'm the HR director. They're kind of outlining what the role is now that I'd accepted it, and said, "Here's what it is you do. Okay, here's all the different things." And I asked the question, "All right, so when it's time for a decision to be made, who's in charge? Who is it that I need to go to get permission so that I can make changes in my department, in my scope? Who's in charge?" And I don't know if they'd never been asked that before, but they really didn't shock them. But they looked at me and said, "Well, you are." And I said, "Okay, so just to be clear, if I have to go and change the way things are going to be done in my department and across our district, given all of our things operations wise, if I send something out to all the principals, who's in charge?" He, at that one set him back a little bit. And he said, "Okay, I get what you're saying. You are." Why was that important? Because without setting the scope of who's in charge, you end up having those feelings of, okay, who am I needing to comply with? If I have to go ask everybody's permission to do my job, I'm not really a leader. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't work with others. It doesn't mean we don't bring people in. It doesn't mean we don't have debates and let people criticize us. But a good leader takes in all of the information that is coming at them and then makes a decision, which then cuts out all of the other stuff. And now go back, review your decision, make sure you're paying attention to the way the wind is blowing. Absolutely. Politics matter, right? The people that you're going to upset. If I make this change, who am I going to offend? Today I got a text from somebody saying, "Do you have money so I can do XYZ thing?" And I had to say no. No one ever likes doing that, but that's my role. I have to, within our guidelines, here's what I can do, here's what we're not going to do. And so as we've made some changes, I've tried to avoid leading anybody that I work with blindly. If you don't know if you're in charge, then I would suggest that this is happening. Right? We're getting who's actually leading. Do you know what's coming next? We don't want to have somebody that's in charge that's not present. Now, I'm going to just say one thing that I have learned in the procurement world is just a little taboo and a little scary. All right, so here we go. Ready? This next graphic. These are not in charge. Okay, now what am I looking at? The laws that we function under, they're important and they guide our work. And if you break them intentionally, you go to jail. All right, let's all acknowledge that that's important to recognize. Having said that, these laws are written by people who are trying to do the best they can for our constituents, for their constituents. They're trying to make sure that we don't waste money, that there's um, some continuity to what we do. Right? I want to tell you a quick story though that kind of illustrates what I mean by this. When I was a teacher, I changed the way that I did my teaching. Okay, I had been teaching for 18 years. And not that I was burned out, but you know, you give an assignment, you do some homework, and I taught media productions, which meant that I was in charge of graphic design and making movies. It was a fun class, but I was getting a little burned out of I'm going to tell, okay, click this thing. Okay, you clicked it. That's 100%. Yay. Right. So what I was looking for was something I wanted to change it up and get the kids excited. And so I went away from giving grades and I started giving the kids money. Now, not real money, but I was paying them for their work. If they turned in a project to me, they made $1,000. Now it was fun because I charged them rent. Like they could only sit in their chairs if they actually did the work. No, okay, well, I wasn't like a slave driver, but it was fun. It was a little bit different. And so kids were doing all of these projects because they could see the money that they would raise, right? And it was a lot of fun. And I had my assistant principal come in and say, okay, yeah, this is a little different. Tell me what you're doing. And I explained. And they said, how are you grading them? What do you put in the grade book? This changed my entire life. I said, the grade book isn't the teacher. I am. I said, I'm going to go in and put in the grade book what it is that is a reflection of what they've learned. So as they do their assignments, I'm giving them grades. They have rubrics. They know what it is that it's supposed to look like to do the right thing. They have all the information they need to be successful. I'm not saying if I showed you the website where all the information is, and for some reason it's still up, they have all of this information. They know what they need to do and how they're going to be graded. But if a kid comes to me on day one, and here's where this kind of started from, and he knows 0% of the information that I'm sharing with him, and I was teaching things like Photoshop, I was movie making. These kids didn't know any of that stuff. They know zero, and I'm testing them on it. 3 months later, I come back and I test them again, and they get 100%. Well, in the current system, the way that they were doing it, how would that work out, right? I put a 0 in the first time, 100% in the next time. That averages to 50%. Oh, you failed my class with the 50%. And I said, that's not how I'm going to operate. I'm going to go in and I'm going to change their grade so it reflects what they know, because the grade book isn't the teacher. I am. So when you take personal responsibility for your people, remember your situations are not the leader. You are. If your people need to grow, help them. If they need to be gone, help them be gone, right? If there's changes you need to make, do not let your situations be the grade book. Don't let them be in charge. You have to be the one that says, given my restrictions of our laws and other things, what can I do? How can I make it better? So this has happened a little bit in my world, where trying to change the way that people see things can sometimes be really difficult. And it's been a lot of change because, like I said, that conversation changed the way that I deal with people. It changed the way that I do my job. I showed up here, and just a couple examples. I showed up here in our parking lot and it had this sign, office staff parking only. Problem is we have about 70, 80 people who also need a place to park. Well, this entire bank of parking spaces was for staff only. I said, I don't know why it is that office staff are the only ones that get to have signs out there. Why are we more important than them? This isn't a school, right? We don't have specific places for them to park. And you'd be surprised at how much kickback I got from our office staff. We should have special places to park. We're not going to be able to drive in and park. And I said, well, it's first come, first served. What's the issue? Again, people were fighting to try to make sure that they had the thing that made them feel important. It's difficult to change those perspectives, but it's possible. If you haven't seen the movie Moneyball, I would definitely suggest you go watch it. Um, in the movie, the character of Billy Bean, played by Brad Pitt, shares with um, his intern that he needs to be able to believe in the system that he is going to go out and lead with. This kind of leads us into that idea that if you're going to be a strong leader, it takes courage, vision, a plan, takes tactical skills. You have to take responsibility. And each of those things are an integral part. Now, this presentation today is just an overview and a mentality shift, right? Looking at it a certain way. Learning how to come up with a vision, completely separate presentation, and going out and finding information about how to do that. But it starts with being able to see what it is you want to be able to see. When you say, I can see the end of what it is I'm looking for, when I can see where it is I'm headed, that allows other people to follow you. When you're not sure where you're headed or what it's going to look like, other people are also confused. And it leads to, well, I don't know, should we do that? Should we not do that? And that doesn't mean you don't work with your people to come up with solutions. It means that you have to have a plan in place. You can't have a plan without having an idea of where you're going. So for me, my vision when I came into this, having a pretty good idea of what it is that people did on a daily basis in our organization, I said, our school administrators will have time to work with students and teachers and parents because they're not going to be worried about their facilities. End of discussion. Everything that we do in my world comes back to that mentality. If we're making a decision, does it help an administrator be able to deal with students, or students, teachers, and parents? If it doesn't, for example, I have administrators that go out and want to tell us, hey, our grass needs to get cut at a certain time. We need to, okay, wait. Everything that we're doing is to try to get you as an administrator productive with your kids. If you're out telling me when to cut your grass, that doesn't fit. Now, what's a challenge that to me then is I better have some systems in place to make sure he's not having to do that as an administrator, right? So there's challenges there for me. Once we have the vision, then we can come up with a plan. But plans have to come with other things, and we'll talk about that in a second. For you, what would you say your vision is, and what drives your decision making? What is the one-liner, two-liners that drives what you do? If you don't have that, it's not a knock on you. Get it. If you're not sure what you could say to somebody, like I just shared with you, this is why I do what I do, then you're going to be just a little less effective as a leader than somebody that has that. Now, as once you have your vision in place, like I mentioned, you then can start to make plans. But let's not say that a plan, once you put it out there, is the end, right? Plans have to have leaders. I love this little line. Plans have to have leaders, like cars need an engine. If you have a plan, but you don't have somebody driving the plan, making adjustments, making sure it's being worked on, then that's just like a car sitting in the garage. Right? It's not useful at all. And most of the time it fails. So let's go into, just as we kind of wrap up here in the last couple of minutes, let's step into why is change so difficult? And again, this perspective and understanding how people see things is really important if you're going to start to install change. Because everybody that you're around, when you walk in and you start to try to change things, people look at you and they go, why didn't I think of that? Or I don't know if I do it the same way. You have to be okay with that. I love this quote by David Goggins. When people start to rise and they're trying to do good things, it really is a criticism of ourselves, and we don't like it a lot of times. Sometimes we'll celebrate it. If it's our kids, it's awesome. Why? Because they are coming from me. And whatever it is they do is a reflection of me. And if they do great things, I'm excited about that. But when other people do, sometimes we can criticize them. When you come into a team, and I don't know obviously where everybody's at with your guys' situations, I came into a team that had people in this department that had been here for 20 years plus. And so I quickly learned this truth. Every act of change that I put into place was a criticism of the people who had come before me. Even though it wasn't technically, I was saying, hey guys, we're doing a great job. Let's keep moving ahead. Let's change this. Let's change that. What do you think everybody's sitting there saying? Well, we've never done that before. What? And the idea being, it wasn't needed before. We didn't have to do that before, and we were just fine. Right? You're saying that what we were doing, this is the critical part, you're saying that what we were doing wasn't good enough. And then you start to get this, right? Then you start to get the people that are like, yeah, how come I have to do it? And you get all the kickback. Guys, just be ready for it. There is no way to get past the people that are going to struggle with change. It's just a part of the job. As much as you try to do all of the right things, and you will do all the right things, people are still going to struggle with it. That's okay. They have to. The stages of change are kind of like the stages of grief, right? You have to go through all of those stages before you finally accept that the change is necessary. And part of that comes with teaching people humility. You have to actually teach people. Now, as we move into this next step, I want to tell you a quick story. There was a dad that wanted to teach his kid how to ride a bike. Kid comes up to him and says, Dad, I want to be able to ride a bike. Dad says, okay, cool. So he goes and he gets him the big diagram and blows it up big size and puts it on his wall, takes him to all the classes and lets him see what a bike looks like. They look up YouTube videos, and pretty quick the kid gets a little exhausted. He's like, okay, Dad, I just want to ride a bike. Come on. And the dad's like, yeah, but I'm showing you how to ride a bike. Take it easy. The kid just gets frustrated and walks out. Well, the dad reflects a little bit and he says, all right, my job is to help my kid ride a bike. Let's go ahead and get started. So he grabs a bike, gets the kid on it, gets him going, gets him running down the sidewalk. And what happens? Yep. Because if you've ever taught a kid to ride a bike, they never stay up. They always fall down. They always skin their knee. And I don't know why it's the knee. Why not their head? Oh, anyway, they fall down. They have problems, right? He's crying. He's having a hard time. The dad had to pick the kid up, put him back on the bike, and start again. Because the truth is, there is only one way to learn how to ride a bike, and that's to actually ride a bike. If you don't get on the bike, you never actually learn how to ride it. Now, why do I bring that up? Because a lot of times we try to protect our people from ever doing anything wrong. And this is the essence of today. Our job is not to protect our systems. Our systems may need an overhaul. Our job is to work with our people. Our people may need an overhaul, right? If we're doing things for the people that we work with and expecting them to never make a mistake, you are going to fail at that too. I love this quote from Maria Montessori. Everything you do for me, you take away from me. And I've had to learn that gaining experience only comes when we allow other people to do their very best and fall short and then do their very best again. We need to make sure that we set up guidelines of where they're supposed to operate. Remember, when I make a choice and I tell you what to do, I'm giving you these guidelines and then function within those. It takes out all of the other ambiguity of your job. Do these things and do them well. Follow these guidelines, but then act, do things. Have fun in your job. Be excited about what you do. When we set up this concept, or when we, instead of giving them guidelines, we give them safety lines where they're never going to fall, never going to make a mistake, never step out of line, then we're never treating them with, it's kind of like the story I shared at the beginning. We're going to stand up in the meeting and say, these people can't do this. We're asking too much of them. How could we expect them to do this work? They're going to end up getting fired. They're going to, you know what? Safety lines are really important when we're going to be putting people in places where they're just not going to be safe, right? If we were going to work in this environment, yeah, you don't ever want to give somebody something to do that's way outside of what it is that they can handle. That would be wrong. But the truth is, people are going to fail. As a leader, you have to decide how much failure you can tolerate. You're going to have to teach them. You're going to have to grow with them. And in the end, you have to help them as a leader become their best selves. They may not be able to finish the entire job, or they may not be able to carry out what you're asking them to do, but give them the opportunity. As you make the changes that you're going to be expected to make, and as you feel some of the things we talked about today are driving you to do things, always move with respect. Continue to press forward in the things that you think are important. Don't ever let it go. If it makes sense to you to do what it is you want to do, don't get discouraged. Respect the positions of the people that you work for and work with. And if you'll do that, what that means is you'll never step in and say, I'm in charge, do what I say. And you won't walk in and say, I want this done, do it today. You'll understand there's a reason, or there's a reason things are the way they are. Just continue to press against those things that you see as the what's holding you back, and do your best to make sure that you respect the people you work with. Kind of the last, wrapping up here in the last couple of minutes, it's the essence of today is that in our worlds, in the bureaucratic world where we're expected to make sure we work to protect the resources that we've been given, leadership is not the same as making sure that others follow the rules. Leadership is understanding the rules and then teaching people how to work within those systems efficiently and effectively, helping them to have fun while they're doing it. And I know that sounds like a kid thing to do. I love coming to work. I come to work every single day as a leader because with joy in my heart. Like I really do. Like I love coming to work because every day is a new challenge. I love when people come in and say, why are you doing it this way? Because if I don't have a good reason, we can change it together. That's a lot of fun because then they get to feel like they're involved. Or then I get to get vindicated and say, well, we do it this way because of these things. And they go, oh, okay, well, that makes sense, right? It takes a lot of courage to be the person that steps up and says, I'm going to make a change. Why would I use a picture like this? If you're walking down this road of change, change always looks like this animal. Change always is scary. It could rip you to shreds. It kind of is docile right now, but if I make these changes, what's going to happen? How will this person hurt me? How will this group of people react? It's important that we're real about that. But guys, the only thing I can say is take the first step. Do what the first thing, reach out to the first person. Try to make the changes stick by getting people around you that believe in what you're saying. Share your vision with them. And then just remember, getting started is the hardest thing, right? I love this quote. In judo, everybody thinks like, in any of the martial arts, everybody thinks that the black belt is the hardest one to get. I really love this quote. The white belt is the hardest one to get because it's the starting is the most difficult thing you can do, right? Have the courage to go ahead and step outside of your comfort zone. And if I can help in any way, if there's anything I can do to give you something where it will just encouragement of, hey, I've gone through this same thing, right? I have it was funny. I was meeting with my superintendent the other day and he said, Adam, you've been in your position for about 2 years and it feels like you grabbed the baby by the ankles and shook it really hard to make all of the loose change come out of its pockets. And here we are and we're better because of it. So if there's anything I can do through my experience to be able to help you, I'd be happy to. I really appreciate being able to come talk to all you guys today. And like I said, I love what you do. please do a good job at it, and make our schools and our other public interests even better than they are by being a leader. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Larson, thank you very much for that. That was an awesome presentation. And I know I've sat through a lot of keynote speakers, and if you don't do keynote speaking, I think you should take that up because that was an awesome presentation. Um, I I would like to also call out so Susan Rose, I looked back at our notes. Susan Rose is the one who suggested that we ask you to speak to us, and I think that was an excellent suggestion. So thank you, Susan, for that. I do want to turn it over to Joe real quick before we let you go, Dr. Larson. So Joe, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey there, Dr. Larson. Completely agree with Casey. That was fantastic. Absolutely. If you don't do keynote speaking, definitely look into that because that was wonderful. So at this time, I definitely want to go ahead and share my screen with you really quick. I should be sharing now. Can you go ahead and let me know if you see up here? We want to present you with a certification of appreciation. Hopefully you're seeing that on your screen. This is to say thank you so much for volunteering to speak with us, for agreeing to give this presentation today, taking the time out of your day to help us out with our education series. We all really appreciate you being here and being a part of our education series for the Copper chapter. So thank you so much, Dr. Adam Larson.
Thank you, and thanks again for having me. This is an outstanding experience.
Alrighty, Casey, I'll turn it back over to you.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Joe. Thank you again, Dr. Larson. And we will go ahead and move right into our business meeting. All right. And Susan, did you have the agenda that you could share?
Give me 1 sec, I'm grabbing it.
Okay, no problem.
Okay,
So I
let me
was
know if you can
watching
see it.
Yes, yeah, that popped up there. Thank you. I was watching the attendance and I saw 77. That's the highest I've seen. I don't know, Teresa, if you have ever noticed higher, but that's an awesome attendance for our virtual meeting. So thank you all for being here, especially Tara and your team. We're happy to have you. So thanks for contributing to that. All right, so we will go right into the consent agenda. So first off, it's the May meeting minutes. So we'll give everybody a chance to take a look at that, and then we will look for a motion to approve. And I know somebody just sent me a note there to don't forget about Jen's team. So yeah, thank you, Jen, and your team for joining as well. It's the virtual really gives us a chance to expand the people who can see these type of presentations. So it's awesome to have you all. All right, so we're looking then for a motion to approve the
I'll do
May
it.
meeting minutes. Patty, thank you.
Palestino
And-
seconds.
All right, before I could even say it, thank you, Joe. And then we will go ahead and, well, any discussion before we go ahead and vote on that? All right, and thank you, Teresa. So go ahead and vote in those in that poll there, if you don't mind.
Hey, Casey, there's not an option to abstain.
Then you just don't vote.
You can post an angry GIF in the
Yes.
chat if you want, something like that.
I'm just thinking in the future, if you want to have that on polls, like I don't want to vote on something if I wasn't here for the meeting. That's all.
Okay, good suggestion. Thank you. see, we have most people in. Teresa, how many more do we need to wait for?
I already stopped it. Did it show?
Okay. All right, good.
Okay.
It's not pulling up for me, but yeah, that's fine. Thank you. All right. So thank you all. We will move into the budget expense reports for May. So Tracy, would you mind walking us through those?
So for May, for our deposits, we're starting to get reverse trade show sponsorships and registrations in. We had our Charleston Rat fundraiser come in and we got an Uber refund for the Chapter Academy. Then for our expenses, we finished up forum registrations and flights. We have our Canva license and then the procurement 101 that we put on late last month. So we currently have 28,972.14 in checking and 16,846.36 in savings.
So thank you, Tracy. So we'll go ahead and look for a motion to approve the treasury reports.
Motion to approve, Maritza.
Thank you, Maritza.
I'll second. Diana.
Awesome. Thank you, Diana. Any discussion on the treasury reports? All right, so we've got another poll.
I'll
Looks
fix it, Tara.
Well, but I'm here for this, so I don't mind voting on it.
Okay.
You can't really vote on minutes if you didn't attend the meeting.
But it's still a good option. I never thought of it before. Maybe there's some people that just don't want to vote, but they want to contribute. We have governing board members that do that, so.
You want to call anybody out real quick, or?
No.
All right. I think did we reach our number there?
Sure.
All right. Well, thank you all for voting. And a resounding yes, and also abstain, I believe. So we will continue on. So for new business, we have a note here for award recognitions. I know some of these things happened previously, but we just forgot to make mention of these, so we wanted to call out. First of all, Garrett, so for those of you who attended virtual forum, Garrett received the virtual forum award, and sorry, I should have said VCon. For those of you who attended VCon, Garrett was awarded a virtual forum scholarship, so that was awesome. Congrats, Garrett. We also have a note here that Troy McMaster received the GEM Award from Pima County. So congratulations to you, Troy. And then finally, Sal Servine, he received the Essay Scholarship Award from NIGP Code and Consulting. So congratulations to you, Sal, on that. Are there any other awards or recognitions that we want to make mention of at this time that we have forgotten about? If not, we have a opportunity again at the end as well for that kind of thing, but just wanted to make sure we call out those. So congratulations to you three. Next up, we have the Did You Know? And we did, I believe, make mention of this last time, but just for clarification, so motion and second can come from anybody who's an active member. Don't feel like your voice can't be heard there if you want to make a motion or a second. So just to clarify, and we'll work on a different Did You Know for next time, just to make sure we have everybody as informed as possible. Next up, the professional development opportunity. So these are the Lourdes Cost webinars. So the next one is July 3rd. There's 2 times on July 3rd, 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. And these are the Copper Chapter paid for all of us to be able to attend these classes. So please take advantage of those. They're free education for you. And Lourdes is great if you haven't had a chance to go to any of her classes. All right, moving on. So we have the section for legislative updates. I know we have had some conversation on this. Was there anything that happened over the last month for legislative updates that anybody wanted to mention?
I don't see Jesse or who was going to say something. Is Vicky on
Yeah, Jesse or Vicky?
or Bill?
Yeah, and if not, that's maybe a good thing that we don't have anything this past month to update there. So we will pay attention to that and see if we have anything after the new fiscal year. All right. So then we will just move on to continuing business. So we'll hear from the chairs here. So any updates for bylaws?
Hi, Diane. I sent out a doodle poll trying to get dates and things weren't working out and I was off in June. So I just sent out a doodle poll earlier, just right before the meeting. Tracy had gone in. I know KO had some comments and I had made a couple of recommendations. So I sent that back out to the team and hoping that we can meet within the next week or two around the holiday and at least be able to get something to you guys for the board to review before the meeting in July.
Awesome. Thank you, Diana. All right. So next up, we have communications.
So the communications committee has been having like monthly meetings. Our most recent one was a couple weeks ago, just to touch base and see where everybody's at with what everyone's working on. Most recently, we're trying to revamp the history of the Copper chapter page. Specifically, we want to keep the past award members on there, but we also want to try and find additional info about past chapter boards. So maybe there'll be, Teresa, some communication about that going out in the near future. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Vanessa. Yeah, if you have any information, I know there was an Excel sheet that went out on who had served previously on boards and things like that. If you have any information that you'd be willing to contribute for those of you who have been members for a long time, then please feel free to help us out with that so we can make sure everybody gets remembered there. Awesome. And thanks again, Vanessa. So next up, education and seminars. Joe?
Yeah, thanks, Casey. So really appreciate Dr. Adam Larson coming in, speaking with us today. I thought that was awesome. Yes, Casey, you are absolutely right. That was a recommendation from our Copper chapter members. That was from Susan Rose. So thank you, Susan, for that recommendation. Next month's speakers are also a recommendation from someone in the chapter.
I think Norma, right?
Correct. Yes. So next month, we're going to be having the Department of Justice anti-collusion team coming in and speaking with us. Now, originally we had Mr. Richard Hellings and Miss Anna Wang. They need to sub it out, and our new speakers are going to be Miss Rebecca Burrs and Miss Stephanie Dilworth. But this next chapter meeting is also going to be between the Copper chapter and the Capital chapter. So looking forward to that one. That's, I believe, all the updates at this time. I know you're working on looking at seeing if we can get our chapter ambassadors to speak for August. And then for September, the September speakers are going to be us, right? Anybody that attends Forum is expected to present. So if you are attending Forum, the expectation this year, right, 2025, if you're attending Forum 2025 in Colorado, the expectation is that you are expected to give a small presentation, right, couple minutes, and that will be September's education series. Okay.
Yeah, just to clarify there, Joe, that's for the people who received a scholarship from the chapter. If you're going and not on the scholarships dime, the Copper chapter's paying for it. We'd love to hear you present as well. And if you can let us know that if you'd like to give a short summary of what you heard from Forum, we'd love to hear that as well. And that, yeah, very well said there, Joe.
Thanks for the clarification. Good clarification.
Yeah, of course. And just to echo there about the combined meeting for July, we're really excited about that. That was Bill who reached out to us and kind of had the idea. So we're going to start off, we'll be the first ones. And then in September 16th, Sean Carroll is presenting to the Capital chapter on crisis management, and they're inviting us to attend their virtual meeting as well. So we're trying to build that partnership, and we'll get an extra education session out of it for those who want to attend. So nothing will change for us next month. We'll have the meeting just as normal. We'll just have a lot more people here, hopefully. So, but yeah, thank you, Joe, for the updates there. Next up, we have fundraising.
Oh, hi. So we had our Krispy Kreme fundraiser, which ended on the 16th of June. We raised $100. So yay. I have not set a meeting yet for our next meeting. So hopefully we'll have something coming up here in the summer pretty soon. So thanks all for participating. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you all. And thank you, Maritza. Again, I mean, I said it before, but these ideas are great and they're putting money right back into our chapters. So, and they're a lot of really cool ideas. So thank you, Maritza, and the fundraising committee.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. And so for lunch, so we will be aiming to have the September meeting in person. So we don't have anything, I believe. If anybody, correct me if I'm wrong on the lunch committee, but I don't think we have anything at this time. Just be on the lookout for that September meeting to be in person. Next up, membership.
There's no updates there, Casey. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. We are continuing to get new members in, and if you haven't already paid for your membership for this year, please reach out to Leticia and Maritza and their team. I know we're working on that as well. And we'll see if we get any new members after the next July meeting as well. That's one of the goals as well, is to get those dual memberships for both our chapter and the Capital chapter. So some hope for some growth there. And so next up, National Liaison. I don't know if we have anybody on the call who wants to cover some national items. I know we have the note here that the NIGP Leadership Summit, if you haven't heard, is going to be at El Conquistador, so just down the road in Oro Valley. So we're very excited about that. And if you can attend that, I'd highly recommend it. There's Leaders Edge, Academy, and Impact. So I would highly recommend Leaders Edge. I've been to that one. I know Academy is for those who serve on the boards of chapters, and then Impact for leaders. So Impact would likely be the one if you're not a board member or in the Leaders Edge program that you can attend. But yeah, definitely try to take advantage of that being so close if you can. Any other national updates? Yeah, Tara?
I don't know if Jen has anything to share, but I will say, I know Diane said it about the chapters awards, but NIGP has started announcing the individual award recipients. So everyone who got an individual award is currently aware, but NIGP hasn't done the announcements for all of them. So kind of keep an eye on the website. We do have some Arizona representation. I don't think it's official yet, so I don't want to talk about it, not necessarily as an individual award, but that will be coming probably hard and fast from NIGP. So watch your emails and watch the updates to see the different award recipients. And there was one other thing, but I can't remember. So if it comes back to me, I'll share it with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tara. Yeah, definitely a good call out. And of course, Forum is next month as well. So that's those are obviously coming quick, the updates on forum.
Just remember the other thing I was gonna say.
Yeah.
There was a blog spot done by Todd, who is the educational content director for NIGP, and asking for feedback for actual development of what's going to go on during Impact for the Leadership Summit. So you should have gotten the email from the NIGP regular emails, but there is kind of a call for membership engagement to respond and say what really matters to you so that they can custom tailor the Leadership Summit Impact training stuff. So that was the other part.
Thank you, Tara. All right. So next up, we have nominations and
Casey.
no. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt before we leave that subject, I just want to also quickly echo Casey to say I attended leadership last year and it was fantastic. I highly recommend that if you are considering it. I just wanted to say look into it, but also if you had any questions, more than happy to answer any of those questions that you might have, because I know going into it I was a little unsure of what to expect. And coming out of it, I feel like it was super, super valuable to meet with other peers and other folks that are really involved with chapter activities. So if you have any questions, Casey's also a great resource. Both of us reach out, please. Or if you know of anybody else that participated, definitely ask your questions because we'll all be happy to answer. That was all. Sorry to interrupt, Casey.
No, that's okay. Definitely a good call out. So thank you, Joe. Yeah, definitely reach out if you have any questions on that event. All right, and then nominations and Diana, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we have any updates currently.
No, I
Okay.
haven't heard anything from Judy, and if Sherry's on here, yeah, I haven't heard anything, so.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, no problem. And just be on the lookout, everyone. We'll be working for the new board positions to go out sometime in late fall, probably. And then also the awards again for next year. So more to
Yeah.
come on that.
Yeah, we're trying to get it out earlier.
Yes, exactly. All right, thank you, Diana.
Okay.
All right. So next up we have Reverse Trade Show.
Hi, no real updates right now. We have the flyers out to vendors. Get your agencies to register, please. Date of the show again is November 5th at the TCC. And we did go ahead and get a keynote speaker, so we have that set. Be on the lookout for some new vendor and agency flyers that have her info on it, just to get more people interested in coming out to the trade show. And we do still have spots available on the committee if anyone is still interested. It's not too late to join.
Awesome. Thank you, Olga. Yeah, and Nora and Olga worked really well to get a keynote speaker. Somebody from, I believe it was the Leadership Summit in Chicago, and she's actually local, so we'll announce that later, but great job getting that keynote speaker. And yeah, definitely feel free to help us out on the trade show, and it's looking like it's going to be a great show again this year, so more to come on that. And next up, scholarship.
So we have 2 requests for certification fees for the application and the testing. And we do have some money that is still available in the scholarship funds. We don't have the exact amount right now until all of the stuff for forum is paid, but we do have enough to pay for these 2 additional certification fees. So those should be awarded before the end of the week.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Nora. And next up, special events.
Hello. So we did meet earlier in the month on the 9th just to discuss our holiday event. We are looking into getting a space for the holiday event. We just wanted to jump on it a little bit sooner than later, just to ensure we have a spot. We are hoping to kind of reinvent this event. So we're hoping it'll make it enjoyable for everyone and more people can attend. That's always our biggest thing, is trying to get the maximum amount of attendance. So stay tuned for more details to come, but we do plan on making it fun and hopefully a good time and place for everyone to attend.
Awesome. Thank you, Raquel. Yeah, last year's event was one of my favorite chapter events. The White Elephant auction, I think, was a blast. So I'm hoping that continues. So, but yeah, thanks again for putting that on.
Yeah, we need to bring back those Casey bucks.
Yeah, I stole one and it's hanging over here. So
We got to frame it.
yeah, awesome. All right, thank you, Raquel. Okay, so professional development for July. I know Joe mentioned it, but it's the Procurement Collusion Strike Force from the Department of Justice. So we're definitely excited about that presentation. And I do believe Norma Camacho again suggested that. So thank you, Norma, and thank you again to Susan for today's presentation. Just a reminder there, if you have any items to add, go ahead and send us an email, our Copper Chapter Gmail there on the agenda. And so next up, we'll go to the announcements. So the Capital Chapter has announced that their regional conference will be on October 16th. They've submitted flyers, and I believe we've sent those out. If not, we can send those out again. But that event was awesome last year as well, and kind of rivaled a day at Forum, I feel, with the speakers they had. So I imagine that will be good, very good again this year. So October 16th there, and that's in Tempe. We did mention there the Leadership Summit, February 18th through the 20th of next year. So mark that on your calendars. And we'll also go ahead and look for if there's any announcements for new hires or any job openings. I believe we sent one out for the director at Pima Community College. And then also if there's any other big news to share. So any announcements that anybody, yeah, go ahead, Helen.
Hi, can you guys see me, hear me, whatever?
We can hear you.
Okay, I just wanted to let everyone know as of last week, I took on the role of Chief Procurement Officer for the city of Sierra Vista.
Oh, that's awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations, Helen.
Thank you. I'm very excited, a little nervous. It's a lot, but I'm very appreciative of it, so.
Yeah, you're gonna do great, and I'm sure Kenny will help you out if you have any questions. But we're excited.
Yeah, luckily she's still around, so we can
Yeah, exactly.
go to the other hallway and ask her. So.
Well, awesome, and thank you guys for being here from Sierra Vista. That's awesome. Awesome to have you guys. So congratulations.
I have a little something to add.
All right.
Muddy
ahead, Maria.
procurement in Pima County. I've also accepted a new position, leaving procurement here in county, but going to Pima County Crisis and Detainee Systems as a contract specialist. And so I have a couple of questions for membership. I'll be sending you all an email because Crisis would like for me to continue with the Copper Chapter. And so I don't know how that's going to work with now me not being part of the actual entity of procurement here, but it's still being procurement related. We're hoping that I can still stay on board.
Yeah,
so
of course.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But
well, congratulations, Maria.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Very cool. Any other big announcements here? All right. Well, very cool. So next month, again, July 22nd, same place virtually. We will just have hopefully a lot more people here in attendance from the Capital Chapter. So it'll be definitely a fun meeting. And thank you all for attending today. We will see you in July.
Stop recording now.